Perhaps the most popular of the bunch, the US M1150 assault breacher vehicle. The design is simple. Fill a rope with C4 charges, launch it, and clear out any mines that appear like in the way. It also features a mine plow used to dig out and push mines out of the way. But the M1150 is new. Here we have the Soviet UR-77 Meteorit, the oldest system currently in operation. And yes, it comes with a red dragon on the front. Before going into auto entirely, it operates similarly, with less charges overall, less range, and worse armor, but 40 years older. This is the newest system of the bunch, called the Next Gen.
Bangers decided to crash a U.S. Army Ranger barbecue.
And I was like, you know what? You don't know who you're
Staff Sergeant William Folk put his BAH to work buying a home on Tacoma's Ash Street, but in 1989, the Crips claimed Ash Street as their territory.
When they started with the old people around me, I'm like, that shit happened.
Sergeant Folk tried everything to peacefully clean up his street, from working with the police to organizing a neighborhood watch. But when he installed a video camera, the Crips retaliated, taking pot shots at it. Things escalated when a gangbanger rolled down his window, pointed finger guns at Folk, and threatened, "I'm gonna shoot you, you Army son of a bitch."
I called the staff duty NCO, and I'm like, this Sergeant Folk, I'm about to come under attack at my house. Every available Ranger now.
After burgers and beers, the Rangers took up defensive positions. At 9:15 p.m., the Crips surrounded the home, and a car rolled down Ash Street, opening fire. For the next 10 minutes, 300 rounds flew.
They're just shooting, they're just like pointing and shooting.
Wrecking Crips vehicles and sending them running. When the police finally arrived,
I was like, there's a guy that got shot right there, and then the person got shot over there, and the guy shot in the alleyway right here. Well, I don't see him now, so we're just going to call that a zero.
What happened when gangbangers decided to crash a U.S. Army Ranger barbecue?
And I was like, you know what? You don't know who you're
Staff Sergeant William Folk put his BAH to work buying a home on Tacoma's Ash Street, but in 1989, the Crips claimed Ash Street as their territory.
When they started with the old people around me, I'm like, that shit happened.
Sergeant Folk tried everything to peacefully clean up his street, from working with the police to organizing a neighborhood watch. But when he installed a video camera, the Crips retaliated, taking pot shots at it. Things escalated when a gangbanger...
Here's another thing I got you. Punchers, punch daggers. So it's G10. I got a few of them. Oh, okay, so this doesn't even go for metal. That's right. There's no metal in the sheet. It's all plastic screws. Hey, cleans up easy. No DNA. You can clean it in diesel fuel. It can wash all the DNA off. Diesel fuel. Do you want to know is that the alcohol? Yeah. Just go to the gas station. But you can't permeate the plastic. It'll come clean. I sharpen them normally with like 400 grit sand. The reason I made it is I always wanted something where, like, I was always wearing my body armor, right? And I wanted to just put the punch dagger right in the center.
Everyone's got imposter syndrome to a certain degree, and the only way to dispel that is
you want to see somebody that responds to your house that looks like you.
Welcome to the Los Angeles Fire Department's 2025 orientation video. Here at LAFD, we focus on the important things, like making sure the fireman, firewoman, or fire they that show up to a burning building look like the people that they're trying to save. It's far more important that the victims of any fires or emergencies see someone that reflects their race, sex, or sexual identity than to see or receive help from somebody outside of their group. I mean, could you imagine a white child looking up to a black firefighter and seeing him as an ally in his Aryan community? Not in LA you are.
Because an LAFD racist mix.
To all the Caucasian prospects, we ask that you hold your applications while we focus on filling these positions with members from the marginalized communities. It's time for you whites to step back, listen, and check your privilege. LAFD is leading the nation in our application of DEI programs. And this month we're kicking off our Face Race Initiative. We'll reflect your racial or sexual background, and no rescuing will commence until that representation is present. We're hoping to have the whites assisting only their communities by 2030. At LAFD, our goal is to let the minorities handle it themselves. And this year, we've furthered our commitment to our communities by taking a $17 million pay cut. This cut will allow us to shut down water collection points, as their presence hindered mostly peaceful fires trying to express themselves in their communities. And fear not those of you that failed on physical fitness testing, as we are currently removing all physical requirements from this academy, showing the proud ranks of our nation's first handy-capable fire battalion, where 100% of our firefighters are wheelchair-bound. And remember, if you can't carry somebody out of a burning building, just remember that they put themselves in that situation, and it's not your fault.
Got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
And if you're asking yourself, hey, why is a white guy telling me all this? Well, I get it. At LAFD, we're DEI to have you on our team. No, but seriously, most of our wheelchair battalion is dead. Join the Los Angeles Fire Department today. We're on fire. Tran, thank God that you're here. This Asian guy's house is on fire. And since I'm white, I had to wait for one of you to show up so that we can help. Yeah, I don't really like how you said one of you, but I'll go talk to the gentleman and see if I can help. Damn it, Richard. What's your microaggressions? Well, can't help. Why? Well, I'm Vietnamese and he's Korean, so you know what that is. We need another underage. Dang it. A special thanks to this video sponsor, SDI, North Desert Institute. If you're thinking about gunsmithing, you owe it to yourself and your future clients to get trusted training. SDI is a distance education accredited and nationally recognized with online course topics including gunsmithing, ballistics, and so much more. Advance your career and visit sdi.edu today or click the link in the bio. And if you want to support the channel, get yourself a shirt. Got Teddy Roosevelt sitting on a phone booth looking badass right there. And we got George. Yeah, gather the goons. We're doing real stuff. We're doing it tonight. See you next time, weirdos. Then show up to a building. It's far more important than me.
Paying your bills on time raises your credit score, right? Wrong. In fact, this is the first of 3 major credit score lies you're being told by the big.
Hi. I'm gonna cut to the chase. The Economist put out this article, which really irritated me. Can you read that headline? American veterans now receive absurdly generous benefits. Forgive me, I didn't know that the disability benefits that veterans got were so egregious. And just by reading this title, you can guess the ridiculous filth that is written in the article. And before I break down this ridiculous, obscene article, let me just tell you the line it finishes with so you can better understand the journey we're about to take together. A lesson in learning, if you will. And I quote, America's veteran obsession has gone too far. Yes. The disability payments you get from getting blown up overseas is now an obsession that has gone, far too far in the eyes of this author. And we'll talk about him a little bit too. But before I blow your mind with some of the most insensitive, obscene, out of his own depth, verbiage, literature, articles, dogs, that is in this article. First, a word from this video sponsor. I'm sure you're all aware that mainstream media has a fairly liberal or right-leaning bias, depending on who you watch. And that fills our heads with inaccurate portrayals of like the military or policing. We've all seen the media skew specific stories in order to reach an agenda and alter the public's perception on law enforcement and military. Well, Ground News is here to cut all that BS out. It's an app and a website that balances all of the world's news. It exposes political leanings and other biases within everything that you read. That's why it's teamed up with Ground News. Each story you read on Ground News comes with a quick summary based on all the sources they found reporting on. From there, you can compare coverage and see what the other side isn't talking about. And you can get story analysis of not just this article, but other ones, just like this Tulsi Gabbard article. The left is saying that there's a couple of concerns, but the middle and the right are saying that Tulsi Gabbard's a military person with lots of experience. Create a custom blind spot page, and you can see stories stories that the left's hiding or the right, like this. Will the Washington Post removes an editor after Trump win? Or how only the left's reporting that Lyndon McMahon, whose Trump's education pick is potentially being sued for child trafficking. I've been a member of Ground News for a while, and that's because of its independent reporting and bringing integrity back into the news. And they've got prices for everybody, whether it's pro, premium, or advantage. You choose how much you want to pay. They're independent and subscriber funded, but my viewers get to save 50%, 50, on the same unlimited advantage access plan that I use. Head to groundnews.com/com or scan my QR code and try them out today. Welcome back to this episode of Angry Cops, Schools, and Idiots. Just so we're on the same page, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to read portions of this article, and then I'm going to describe how absolute batshit crazy it is, and try not to have my tiny pea brain explode from fury as I go through it with you. Are you ready, kids?
A new year and a new adventure with the perfect Chevy to take you anywhere with pure power unleashed and future-forward technology. Every path leads to new possibilities. Chevrolet, together let's drive.
Open source development evaluation platform built by the company. In this video, we'll cover how to log traces to the platform, how to automate the evaluation process and other applications, and how to monitor them in production. Tracing is a
Good. Now, the first paragraph of this article talks about how Donald Trump's going to be president.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Complicated business.
And now he has a large following and is very supportive of the United States military. Okay, so far so good. It goes on to say that with Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk running DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, there could be a little bit of a butting of heads here, considering that the Department of Veteran Affairs is a significant portion of the budget. Huh. I wonder why the Department of Veteran Affairs takes up a significant portion of the budget. Let's hear from our author. The department's budget has surged over the past 2 decades, rising from $86 billion in today's dollars, that equivalent to 2.6% of the federal budget, in 2000 to $336 billion, 5% of today's budget this year. This year being 2024. Let me just try and figure something out here. 2020, numbers are down. After 2020, numbers are up. Did somebody forget that 9/11 happened? This guy forgot to say that, during the past 20 years, it's been 20 straight years of combat. Whether you were in Afghanistan or if you were in Iraq, like some of us. But of course, this gentleman, I use that term loosely, doesn't say that the United States has been at war for 20 years, making its active component, reserve component, and National Guard component all deployed across the world. It now receives almost 3 times as much as the Department of Transportation. Remarkably, this boom has occurred despite a nearly 1/3 decline in the veteran population, which has fallen from 26 million to 18 million. Annual spending per veteran, as a consequence, has risen 6-fold. There could be a reason for that. And let me just give you my 2 cents. Okay? You remember World War II, when every able-bodied American in the country was going to war for 3 or 4 or 5 years of blanking on how long. 41 to 45, if I'm not mistaken. And then after that, we've got Korea, and then Vietnam, which ended in 75. Let's just talk about those 3 wars real quick, all right? Everybody from those wars has died.
Starts a conversation like that. I just sat down.
We've got like nobody left from World War II. And once again, World War II was the entire country going to war, right? And now every single one of those guys, that massive population, is almost gone completely. Sad to say. Many of that generation fighting in Korea, and then, of course, the draft for Vietnam. So the last major conflict, I'm leaving out the Gulf War at the moment, from 1975 until now, have all been slowly passing away. Unfortunately, but hey, that's the way the world is. Give the threat. So with these massive volumes of troops that served overseas in the past now dwindling down, yeah, of course those numbers are going to go down. And guess what? Although there might be less of us serving overseas, it's for 20 years. And get ready for this. There's no frontline war. Afghanistan and Iraq, there were no front lines. Everybody was getting blown up. So instead of just having World War II, Korea, and Vietnam guys having like a, hey, here's a line, you need to push through that line, everything behind that line is pretty chill. You want to have it beyond the weekend? No, not in Iraq and Afghanistan. Every truck driver, every gas person that was filling truck up and trying to distribute it across wherever was getting blown up. An IED just says to whom it may concern. It's not looking for frontline infantry. So everybody's getting murdered. Everybody's getting blown up. Everybody's next to burn pits. We'll talk about that later. So what I'm trying to get at is a larger portion of the population that received benefits from those previous wars are now passing away. And a smaller portion is coming in their stead during Iraq and Afghanistan. But a large population of that swell of people have been affected by the combat since there's no front lines. Plus, you know what else could have caused that? The fact that not as many people are dying and that more of the injured are surviving, which most people would say is a good thing, right? Far less dead, but far more wounded, which is a better trade-off than far more dead and far less wounded. Do you know what I'm saying? So we're trading the massive amount of deaths for good combat casualty care and those surviving later on, although wounded or maybe permanently afflicted by their wounds. So two things. Large population in the past, passing away, no longer receiving benefits. Less veterans, however, more affected by combat because of one, the length, and two, the fact that there's no front lines indefinitely. Then we've got, hey, back then, you got shot, you could die of sepsis. Amputation isn't as clean as it is now. But trading that in for now, where everybody's getting shot, everybody's getting blown up, but so many more people are surviving, far less combat deaths. Let's...
It's back? And Denny's at 246 8th Avenue is back. Come save on your favorite classics and slamming breakfasts. It's back. 246 8th Avenue is back for a limited time.
Continue. Between 2000 and 2004, such payments ballooned from $26 billion in today's prices to $159 billion. Last year alone saw a 17% jump. Once again, we're talking about pre-9/11 to post-9/11. Pre, the only war we had for like the past 30 years was the 4-day-long Operation Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Desert Saber. They're all put together in Desert Storm. Desert Saber was when we went in there, were storming over Schwarzkopf, took over Iraq on the ground in 4 days. So anyway, from the end of Vietnam to 2000, right? Obviously, low numbers. But then 20-year war, hello, where active guard and component are all together fighting overseas. Sign up, you're going. Yeah, we're probably going to see a bump up in disability pensions. From 1960 to 2000, roughly 9% of veterans qualified for payments, typically for ailments such as hearing loss or burns. Once again, 1960 to 2000, the only things that happened in between there were Vietnam and the Gulf War. Much shorter than the 20 years that we had, and weren't active component, guard, and reserve all activated for those 20 years, deployed constantly, consistently, rotation after rotation after rotation. The department assigns a rating from 0 to 100% based on the severity of disabilities. In 2000, the average rating was 30%. Monthly payments averaged the equivalent of $975 today. Few qualified for the top tier. Once again, 9% prior to 9/11, 30 years where the only wars were Vietnam and the Gulf War, they were, and then you compare that to the 20 years. This is going to be something that keeps popping up. He keeps trying to say, before 2000, we were paying nothing. And then now, all of a sudden, the past 20 years, geez, it's just the fiscal irresponsibility. These veterans getting hurt. We're just a bunch of clumsy veterans falling into bullets. The modern program bears little resemblance to its original form. This year, 6 million veterans, or a third of the total, qualified for payments with an average monthly benefit of $2,200. Veterans may file claims for an unlimited number of disabilities and repeal against decisions as often as they wish. The average rating has climbed above 60%, and 1 in 4 disabled veterans now receives the once rare 100% rating. Here's where his arrogance comes through. Such a designation ensures a generous $4,000 monthly payment for life, with no conditions attached. Starting at the age of 25, a former soldier could earn well over $2 million in present value terms. Let's break down those numbers, shall we? Numbers, we're going to have numbers pop up here. $4,000 a month for 100% disability, all right? We're going to go for the max. Bing! That's $48,000 a year. You want to know what the average median income is for a person in the United States? Single family? $41,000. Oh, make it just above average. Okay. What about the household? Bing! $80,000. Huh. A little bit more than half of what a median household gets in America. Interesting. Do you want to know how much one singular Hellfire rental costs? Bing! $150,000. Let me tell you, we fired a lot of those. Just in November of 2001, when Afghanistan was just starting, the CIA fired 40 from a drone. Just zoom. Hey, there's a target, zoom. Hey, there's a target, zoom. Just like that. $6 million. Bam, done. Gone. And that was in a month of just CIA guys and Delta Rangers and Special Forces cats in Afghanistan. That's accounting when we actually had normal line units and support elements there. So in 30 days, before troops were really in Afghanistan, we fired 40 of them. Now, just imagine how those numbers might go up, especially after we got into Iraq. But let's backtrack a little bit. Let's look at the wording for in this paragraph real quick. Veterans may file claims for an unlimited number of disabilities. Oh no! We can file claims for all of them, and the fact that it's overseas, not a limited amount. Oh, sorry, did you lose your leg on a Friday? No, that's no good here. Not in America. Doesn't matter which day you lose your leg. Unlimited numbers of disabilities. Like, that's a bad thing. Yeah, man, if something bad happened to me and I can prove it overseas, and it disabled me, and created some sort of issue where I'll never be able to get back to 100% again, yeah, I think I should be able to claim that. How dare the injured demand compensation? Why has this happened? From 2001, the department began to broaden its list of presumptive conditions, where officials automatically assume the problems in service related to include ailments, such as type 2 diabetes, allowing any veteran with the disease to qualify for compensation. Okay, some fakers in there. I think I got affected by a burn pit. Okay, Navy guy, how did you get affected by a burn pit? You were on a ship. Well, I passed through this area, and there's verbiage stating that if you served in this area, you could be affected by a burn pit. So I was affected by a burn pit. Oh, this guy's playing the system. Yeah, there's that. There are those people out there, but let's not pretend like that's the major issue as to why people are claiming their disability benefits. And the reason I know that this author doesn't give about veterans or whether or not they deserve it or don't is this next line here. The reasoning for such expansion is not always robust. For instance, a department-funded study found only limited evidence linking herbicide exposure in Vietnam to type 2 diabetes. I'm going to say that again. Limited evidence linking herbicide exposure in Vietnam. He's talking about Agent Orange. Agent Orange took years for the VA, the United States government, to finally say, oh, yeah, I guess that thing that took all the foliage off the trees, ripped all the hair off of your legs, gave you boils. I guess maybe that's our bad, and we might have to pay you for it now. Oh, cancers too? Jeez, what are you just gonna claim unlimited things for your benefit? This is too quick. You know what? I haven't done it in a while. Communism!
GMC Sierra. It's the truck. Get 0% APR 2024 Sierra 1500 models. That's over $5,600 average finance savings. Plus, get over $3,200 mileage on this Sierra when you trade in an eligible vehicle.
I'm sorry, are you trying to downplay Agent Orange by referring to it as an herbicide and hoping nobody's going to catch on to what you're actually doing? Like, don't get me wrong, I know what you're going to say. You're going to be like, oh, well, you know, technically, it is in fact an herbicide. Yeah, I get it. Also, technically, you're putting the atomic bomb in the space heater and then claim that Japan is really upset they lost the war because they had a brief temperature increase in 1945, but you'd be a dishonest well, that's what you did, right? Hey, newsflash, Agent Orange isn't just an herbicide, it's also extremely toxic to humans, and those toxins stay in your body for the rest of your life, okay? It's linked to like 9 different types of cancer. It causes Parkinson's disease, hormonal imbalances, infertility, and then if you are lucky enough to have kids, they're at a much greater risk of having birth defects. Saying that a veteran that was exposed to Agent Orange doesn't deserve disability benefits and then playing it off like he's complaining that he got Roundup on his pants is one of the most disingenuous things I've ever heard of a journalist or a publication doing ever, and it's a pretty high bar. Seriously, I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about burn pits. I'm sure it's something along the lines of, oh, veterans got to sit around a campfire and roast marshmallows, and now they're complaining about headaches and think that they should get disability for the rest of their lives. It has nothing to do with all of the cancer.
Thank you, Nicholas. I needed a break. I was taking crazy pills. In 2022, President Joe Biden's PACT Act expanded eligibility further with illnesses such as asthma and chronic, I don't even know how to say that word, bronchitis, gaining approval, as some soldiers had picked up conditions from quote-unquote burn pits in Afghanistan and Iraq. Yes, burn pit exposure is kind of a big deal. You want to know why? Because it gave people a whole bunch of disgusting, freaky issues, little cancers and stuff, because of all the food that we were burning. Human diesel fuel, all the friggin' expand rounds, and some sort of, material that we came upon. I said it once, I'll say it again. Burn pits are our Agent Orange. Yeah, it's not raining down from the sky on us from jet planes that we're doing to ourselves. But we're doing it to ourselves by burning a bunch of this because it's the only way to get rid of it. And now, we're all just breathing in all the toxic fumes. One of the burn pits on the post that I used to be on in northern Iraq called Kuduk Air Base was bigger than a football field. You would see how that affected me. Once on the payroll, veterans usually remain beneficiaries for life. The stigma around collecting payments has faded in recent decades. I mean, that's a good thing. We shouldn't have a negative stigma for being injured and then requesting assistance for that injury that we sustained overseas. In combat, why does he make this seem like it's a dirty thing? Oh, they're not ashamed of it anymore. So now they're all going for the thing that they deserve. Gross. It's common for veterans to start on the program at 50% disability rating for, say, sleep apnea linked to service stress, only to then add more disabilities and have the rating increase to 100% within a few years. I like how he says only to add more disabilities. Listen, dickhead, a lot of veterans, including myself, go in with it that we know we can prove. Boom! Just get the process started. Hey, here's your percentage of disability, there it is. You want to add more on later? Totally fine. We've got you in the system for at least the bare bones stuff that you need. Let's move on. It's a program that helps a lot of people who deserve it, but getting on the program becomes an escalator to higher disability ratings and compensation, says Mark Duke of Stanford University. Once you qualify, you have an incentive now to get better. First of all, it's not an escalator. You have a disability, and it qualifies or it doesn't. You get in there just so you can get your rating, and then you go, oh, thank God, I've got my rating. By the way, here's some, it's probably going to need some more paperwork that I have to prove for. It's going to take a little while. We'll get that going, but eventually I'll get the rating I deserve. It's not cheating the system if you're getting compensation for the injuries you sustained, you morons. You have an incentive not to get better. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know if once you get disability, you have an incentive not to get better. How do you get better from missing a leg? How do you get better from PTSD? Do you think that just because I went to therapy, real talk for a second, you think that just because I went to therapy for a couple of years and was able to iron some shit out, that I still don't freak the out when a truck comes really, really close to me and it's still well within its lane, but I'm just like, I don't like being next to a car. Because I drove in Iraq for years and come out. Yeah, my couple $100 a month. It's really preventing me from wanting to get rid of that. How do you incentivize an amputee to get better? Are we in the Hulk? Is that what this is? We got that cool serum that he uses in the first Hulk. I like the first Hulk better. Not gonna lie. How do you grow brain cells back from a TBI? How do you grow limbs back? How do you grow tendons back in my foot that got ripped off and now it just ain't there no more? How do I grow that back? Well, you're just gonna screw some rubber bands in there? That's my incentive. It's unclear if the spending is even benefiting veterans. Holy oh my God!
You look at the gorgeous woman and immediately you think to yourself, no, this woman is out of my league. She's unattainable. There,
tell you something, all right? A veteran might have a disability rating and be injured for the rest of their life or have some sort of disability that follows them for the rest of their life. But you know what's kind of nice is the government to say, hey, sorry, that sucks. Hey, you don't have to worry about your house payment anymore or a car payment because here's a little bit of compensation for the rent we had to put you through. Which, by the way, you had no choice because when you sign up to serve, you go where we tell you to go. Ain't that clear giving veterans more money is even effective? It's the most retarded ever. It's like going up to a kid on his birthday and be like, hey, listen, the past, 3 years, I keep giving you more money in your birthday card, but you just seem to be happy. And it's just on the same level, you plateaued in happiness, so I'm going to cut your money and see if that makes you more happy. Research by Mr. Dugan and co-authors finds that disability compensation has reduced employment, with 1 in 5 new recipients leaving the workforce after a change in 2001. Oh, yeah, maybe the people that got, TBI or don't like crowds or got their legs going out, don't want to be walking around the Walmart all day. Maybe life is uncomfortable for them and they can't work. A study in 2002 by a bunch of freaking retards found that extra compensation had failed to boost veterans' mental and physical health. Indeed, or the veterans, suicide rates have increased relative to comparable non-veterans. We're comparing non-veterans and veterans suicide rates. So guys that have seen the horrors of war to not, and we're going like, these guys seem to kill themselves in war. We better take their money away. Oh, giving veterans benefits, but still seeing a rise in suicide. Correlation is not causation, you idiots. Oh, we're giving them more money, but that doesn't slow down the suicide. Better take away the money. That's right, take away the money. Add the financial stress back onto those guys that are already just a fucking hair short of pulling the trigger on their head. See how that shoots right up and makes things worse? What robot retards, zero human emotions wrote this? I'm gonna go off on a little tangent here, all right? Want to make veterans feel better? Hey, SecDef, hey, Seth, new guy, talking right at you. Seem to be a fan of the thing that I'm about to talk about, so let's make this go. How about psilocybin? How about ibogaine treatments? You got veterans that are going down to Mexico with severe PTSD, TBIs, and saying, hey, the United States won't allow us to use ibogaine or mushrooms or psilocybin, etc., in order to combat our PTSD. Studies show that it works. I happen to know a handful of guys that are fantastic and better men because of it. Oh, well, we can't do that. Can't do that. If you want to stop fixing us by throwing money at us, then allow us to fix ourselves by allowing us to use some new, upcoming, maybe controversial medical treatments. Ooh, it's so controversial to give the guy who wants to kill himself some mushrooms to make himself happy. Oh. Now, this is the part in the story where these guys are done. All right. Where it pays to be a weirdo and follow me on the interwebs because I've touched on this exact topic that these idiots who wrote this article are about to touch on. Join me. To rein in costs and focus the department's mission, policymakers could take a page from the Congressional Budget Office's recommendations. The nonpartisan scorekeeper advises narrowing eligibility for disability compensation to veterans with severe connected conditions, lowering benefits for some veterans, and introducing a means test. Boom! Stop it right there. This video. I don't care if you don't come back. If you go to this video right here, I break down. There's 3 separate articles from the Congressional Budget Office, and specifically the means test. Watch that. Come on back. Watch it. I'll pause. I'll wait. Did you click it? Are you back now? Fantastic. If you did it, quickly, a means test is this. Let's say that the United States government now says if you make over $150,000 in your household, you will no longer receive your disability benefits. That's right. If you make too much money and are successful in your household, meaning your wife could be loaded and you could just be a guy on the couch with no legs, they'll take away your disability compensation, your disability benefits. And here's how they do it. They say, hey, we'll start taking away your money at $100,000. And then once you hit $150,000 in household income, then 100% of your disability is gone. So, from $0 to $100,000, you get all that $48,000 if you're at 100% disability annually. But if you are at $100,002, then they will take $1 of your benefits. And $10, they take $5, $20, they take $10, all the way up until you hit $150,000, then you got no benefits left. That's right. If you make more money, you're no longer disabled. Somehow, in the eyes of the Congressional Budget Office. So you, with your no legs, had $150,000 for your home, your household. Yeah, you don't get any of those benefits anymore for still being wounded. And there's more, like they take away your Social Security and they take away other things. Watch the video. I go through it in its entirety. Reducing payments to former soldiers will never be popular, but it would be wise. Oh, no, it would not. No, it would not. If soldiers sign up and the federal government says, you get this if you sign up, and then the federal government changes its mind, well, after you've already signed the contract and made the deal, well, then that's how you get a bonus army. And if you don't know what a bonus army is, you'll learn today. All right, guys, you're supposed to get some benefits. They said, hey, we're super poor. We would like to turn our certificates in to get our benefits a little early. Congress said, we can vote on that. That sounds good. And then the president and General MacArthur got an army together and pushed them all out of D.C., setting fire and burning to all their peaceful protesters, by the way, that just had an encampment. They were all World War I veterans. Isn't that nice? Don't let the government do it to us. I'm telling you right now, don't you dare let the government take our away and then roll over. That ain't gonna happen. You thought January 6th was bad. Wait till the dudes with funny hats show up on your doorstep. And of course, the line that they end with.
When I first started assembling this little device to make water out of thin air, my friends laughed at me. But when they saw
America's veteran obsession has gone too far. Wow, I didn't know that keeping up your side of the bargain was an obsession. What was that, veteran? You want the medical benefits that you signed up for that I promised you? Oh, gross.
Why are you so obsessed with me?
How out of touch? How tone deaf are you? Recruiting for the United States military, all volunteer service, by the way. Big ups. Is at an all-time low right now. Thanks, current administration. Really helped us out on that one. Thousands of service members with combat experience were kicked out, so much dishonorable discharges, because they refused to get the COVID-19 fix. Oh, and I'm looking at you, generals, for doing absolutely nothing for your troops. And now, people are saying we should take away the things that we promised you after we gave you zero choice on when you signed up, whether you were going to go to war or not. By the way, not a great pullout in Afghanistan. By the way, no WMDs in Iraq. And wow, what a cesspool that place has become. Got rid of Saddam Hussein, and now Iran's got nobody to check their power, to battle on the border with. And they're just doing whatever the hell they want. So we have to pay for everybody's poor decision making. No. That's not how this is going to work. All we've got are us, veterans. That's it. We're the only ones that know. The rest, everybody else, we have to hold accountable to their standards. The one that they said we had to sign to, and we both agreed to. And we signed our name on the dotted line, and they said, we're going to give you this. You can bet your f***ing ass. And we're going to hold their feet to the fire the second they second guess giving us what we agreed on. And no. That's not an obsession. That's called integrity. It's called doing the right thing. The last thing that anybody who's signing up voluntarily to serve their country wants to think about in the back of their mind is, ooh, am I going to get screwed over? Are they going to renege on something? Ooh. Now, The Economist usually posts articles in anonymity. It means you don't know who wrote it. Everybody can kind of write freely, not get any backlash, and people can talk about it. But what they failed to do is remove individuals' profile pictures from the website when they send out email updates. Well, what do you know? Y'all forgot to include the author's name. So let me help you out. It's as dommage. As dommage. Your ass is about to be demolished. But bam, you put this moron's face on the article. So hey, here's the guy, here's his Twitter, here's the Economist Twitter. You feel free to go to their Twitter, expert. Go to their website, send them an email. Hey, Global Tweet, let them know how you feel about this. What's that? Do I hear task and purpose sounding off? What do they gotta say? Hey, The Economist, is this you? American veterans now receive absurdly generous benefits. February 20th, 2003. Why war would be justified. Saddam Hussein must be disarmed. If necessary, it should be done by force. Ready to put us in harm's way until it's your turn to put the bill. I see. Let's listen to some of the people that also read the article. Looks like my application for an additional 10% has crippled the economy. Good for me. Perhaps our politicians should consider the economic impact of disabled veterans before they engage in future wars, especially if they want to engage in 20 plus years of continuous war. I'm surprised the differently able haven't picked up ours over this article as well. The insinuation is that the veterans aren't continuing in the workforce because of their disability, just that they're lazy. Thanks, Alex. You're a best way to support the channel is get yourself a shirt. Look at that. I got shirts. They're cool. Check them out. New ones every month just about now, because it's what I like. Cheapest way to support the channel, leave a comment. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me what you think. Huh? Is this great? Is The Economist just like the smartest thing I've ever heard? See you next time, weirdos. Oh, hey, it's Black Friday. Wearing a black shirt. So, you know, Christmas is coming up. Christmas. Code Christmas. 20% off at your top store. Everything on there. Christmas. Use code Christmas. It's there. It's for Christmas.
Marines are different. They like to think they're the best. Culture is a warrior spirit.
We consider ourselves warriors, and we have an obligation to be the most favored nations to least and do the kind of things that our country would ask of its elite warriors.
The Marines are smaller than the other major military services. They're more oriented on combat. Throughout history, at times, killing is necessary.
The Marines run to the sound of the guns.
Marines understand what they do is a brutal business. They never use their gun.
They're the most ancient of all the armed services. I say ancient, not primitive. They're arguably the most functional of all the armed services. They're a cult that works. They're a gang that's lawful. To me, it's the baddest fraternity. I'm glad that you can belong to.
Semper Fidelis, always. Marines more than any other service would emphasize that. A kind of specialness and a special camaraderie to each other.
It's out there that Marines are the end. I actually find the Marines very intellectual.
Roger that. And what?
Marines, I firmly believe, are idealists to their core, who really truly believe that they can, in some way, help make the world a better place. They live in such a tough world that they have to cloak their idealism in a shell, just to survive.
The professional warrior has a very strong emphasis on the code of ethics. Integrity, morality is a big factor.
Our core values are courage and commitment. That's the foundation of that.
We took that oath. We promised everybody in our country that for 4 years or for a lifetime we'd give them the best we had. And we do every day.
Marines don't argue about should we or should we not have intervened. The mission is everything.
And Marine, no matter how many times you knock him down, he's going to get to us. That probably makes us as feared as any organization.
We are the nation's first line of defense. But if you do something wrong to the country, we're the last people you want to see come here. That reputation has been well earned over the last 230.
Hi.
You want to see somebody that...
pilots were shot down in an apparent friendly fire incident. Tuesday terror attack in New Orleans.
Deadly explosion outside the hotel in Las Vegas.
Happy freaking New Year. Wow, this past week sure has been an interesting time for the United States military, who had terrorist attack on day one. Incredible and extremely unfortunate events have ended the year of 2024 and began the year of 2025. The USS Gettysburg shooting down one of our own aircraft and then trying to shoot down a second one. The New Orleans attack that was perpetrated by a United States Army veteran, and of course the Tesla truck explosion caused by a U.S. Army Green Beret who is still currently serving was. Now there's a lot to break down, and I'll start off with talking about the Navy accidentally shooting down one and then almost a second plane, the New Orleans attacker, and then finally ending with the Green Beret who took his own life in the Tesla at Trump Towers in Vegas. And all the factual information and interviews that have come out because of it. But before I get into these three stories, quick, a word from this video sponsor. Have you ever Googled yourself? Well, there's companies out there called data brokers that collect all that juicy little snippets of information and they sell it to scammers, hackers, governments. That's right. The government is tracking you and seeing where you go to, which site you use, which is what I started using more on today's sponsor. Now, cleaning up all my information does reduce the amount of spam that I do, but it also protects me from hackers using this type of information in order to get into my social media accounts, bank accounts, or other sensitive information. With Aura, you also get credit monitoring, antivirus, VPN, password management, version controls, identity theft monitoring, and insurance all in one single portable app. That's easy. You might say, but I've already got VPN. Yeah, but do you have all of it? What's the point of locking the front door if your garage is wide open? Have all the tools. That way you can have your privacy and protect it like I value mine. Just check out Aura.com/angrycops. Click the link below and get your free 2-week trial. See the advantages for yourself. The U.S. Navy shooting down one of its F-18 Hornets is about a week and a half old, and last week I made an emergency angry meme review on it, discussing some of the funny memes that came from the United States Navy shooting down one of its own planes, but some new information came aboard that I wasn't aware of, that a second plane was almost taken down, and I was given additional information from you fantastic people in the Navy that, hey, this is how that could have potentially happened, and this is who's going to be held responsible, most likely. A U.S. Navy F-18 Super Hornet took off from the carrier USS Truman and was flying around doing some refueling campaign. That Super Hornet was then shot down by the USS Gettysburg using an SM-2 rocket, which is the U.S. Navy's primary surface to air missile. The pilot and his co-pilot were able to safely eject 3 seconds before the missile made impact with their Super Hornet and detonated. Immediately rescue efforts were made. They were recovered, safe and sound, minor injuries. What are the minor injuries? Well, a pilot ejecting from an aircraft is an extremely violent force. Getting ejected compresses your spine. That can lead to spinal issues and your disc being compressed or bulging or exploding or being crushed, etc. Original Houthi rebels in Yemen stated that it was their fault. They had shot down the Super Hornet, but eventually the U.S. Navy came up to correct that and said, "I don't think you have the facilities for that." With blue on blue, which I don't know which one is more embarrassing. The United States Navy showing the Houthis that they're lying pieces of shit, that they don't even have close to the technology that could take down one of our aircraft. The U.S. Navy proving that the Houthis couldn't do it by taking credit for accidentally shooting down one of their own aircraft. But let's not stop there, because just moments later, the USS Gettysburg fired another SM-2 rocket at a second plane that was just miles behind the original plane that they had shot down. That's right, the Hornet went down. The guys ejected. They're like, we're ejecting. Holy incoming fire. And the USS Gettysburg's like, sweet, that thing that we shot went down. Wow, those guys are calling for help. What an odd coincidence. Hey, there's a second thing right behind the first thing. Let's shoot that down. Luckily, the pilots in that second aircraft were able to avoid being struck by the rocket. Statements are saying that it came within 100 feet of hitting the aircraft. That's pretty scary close. Although nothing concrete has come out from the Navy as to why the United States ship would shoot down one of its own craft, there are some speculations. People in the Navy with know-how are saying that the IFF might have been turned on. IFF standing for Identification Friend or Foe. And for laymen like us, there's a terminal or a responder mounted in an aircraft and in a Navy ship. They both talk to one another, challenging one another. Hey, who are you? Hey, one of your friends. Oh, okay. And then nothing happens. Now, if somebody turns that off, then one's going to go, hey, who are you? The other one's going to go, nothing. There's nothing there. So this turns into, oh, is probably a bad guy. Fire away. So it allows friendly aircraft and naval vessels to see one another and not shoot each other down. The possibility, you could say, would be fairly high that somebody, the USS Gettysburg, might have turned off their IFF. That way, when they were pinging and sending out radar to that one plane, the aircraft, the Super Hornet, nothing was coming back. So they assumed that that was possibly an enemy ship, craft, missile, unmanned aerial aircraft, which the Navy had been shooting down several of those throughout the day. What leads me to believe that it was the USS Gettysburg's fault for both of these missiles being fired at, connecting with and narrowly missing two United States Navy aircraft is that if you hit one, you go, oh, okay, cool, maybe that aircraft didn't have their IFF on. But if you go for two, that means that correlating factor, and if both aircraft took off from the USS Truman, a carrier, in a carrier group, and then we're flying around, it's hard for me to believe that somewhere in there, the USS Gettysburg made some sort of mistake. They saw them as potential threats and then fired on them. Regarding the second missile getting fired off at the second aircraft, the U.S. Navy is looking into that and trying to determine whether or not the USS Gettysburg quickly turned off its guidance system so that it wouldn't strike the aircraft. And to add context, this happened on the 21st of December for a large military operation where the United States Navy was bombing Houthi military targets. And during that day, several unmanned aerial aircraft were shot down, as well as an anti-ship cruise missile. Still, it's not looking good for the commanding officer of the USS Gettysburg and his tactical actions officer, both of which would be directly involved in firing a missile at an incoming aircraft or object. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, they say. But enough of the Navy looking stupid. How about the Army? Let's talk about the New Orleans attack. God, his name is hard. I'm just going to call him Jabbar. Jabbar, who did the New Orleans attack on January 1st, is obviously a topic of discussion, and one of those topics within that is his military service. Great, a military member committing a terrorist act. Great, wonderful. Jabbar was active military from 2007 all the way up to 2015, and then from 2015 to 2020 he was in the reserves. He got high staff sergeant, but his job, his MOS military occupation specialty, was a human resource specialist and an IT specialist. Far from an infantryman. Now, he did have a tour overseas in Afghanistan, but with these jobs, he'd be more on a post, assisting people in administrative tasks and technical issues on the post. But by 2022, Jabbar had been married and divorced 3 times and had several children. He was accruing a large amount of debt from child support and also from a failing business. Stressors in one's life, you might say. Family members stated that at least a year ago, Jabbar started showing signs of extremism. So let's break that down. Family and relationship dysfunction. Monetary stresses. These are all things military members are told to look out for in one another for potential suicide awareness. And on top of that, regarding the training that we all get when it comes to OPSEC and making sure we don't plug random thumb drives into computers that are owned by the government, yes, foreign agitators and people that are trying to spy on us and use military members as potential methods of gaining information will see those stressors and take advantage of them. Paid for engagement that's from a non-happy or friendly country. What's that? You'll give me money to act for you? That's so nice, thank you. My personal opinion is that Jabbar ended up falling into that trap. That inability to have a consistent lifestyle, fall deeper and deeper into debt, made him an easy recruit and a target for that ideology, which he lost his life over. Another thing that stands out to me is the number of crude IEDs that he created. People don't just learn how to do that on the internet when you're an IT guy. Just because you can solder a motherboard together doesn't necessarily mean you're great with explosives. I can bet a cohort or handler is probably being looked into and might potentially be arrested down the line by the FBI or CIA, whoever's looking into this. Speaking of mental distress, let's get to the topic that probably brought you here.
What's that?
blue raspberries and fits. It's made for the game and it tastes great.
Huh, I'm gonna try.
Here, the Vegas Tesla Trump bombing, which started off as a story with a lot of questions, especially because it followed the New Orleans attack like that, has blown up, especially because of some internet sleuths and recent interviews that have happened over social media. Primarily Sam from the Instagram account Terminal CWO going on Sean Ryan's podcast and discussing an email that he received from Matt, the guy in the Tesla, and the contents of that email, an email he sent the day before he got to Vegas and self-detonated. So let's talk about before the explosion so I can bring you up to speed on what we currently know about Matt Levelsberger. Matt started out as a Green Beret back in 2006, was active component, went to the Guard, went to the Reserve, and went right back to the active component to be a Special Forces guy, working on a 1st Battalion 10th Special Forces group, currently out of Germany. Matt had several tours overseas to Afghanistan and a couple other places. He was home on holiday block leave, hanging out with his family, back in the United States from Germany. Just prior to Christmas, Matt and his wife had a bit of a domestic dispute and split ways. The dispute potentially, I don't have a fact verifiable thing right now, but as of right now, potentially it was over someone's infidelity, and that perhaps a DNA test came back which showed that Matt wasn't the father of he and his wife's child. After the dispute with his wife, he rents a Cybertruck, he drives down from Colorado to Las Vegas. He hits numerous charging points along the way which record him, and then he ends up at Trump Tower in Las Vegas, and then the Tesla truck detonates. Post-explosion, what's recovered from the Tesla vehicle that Matt's in? Matt's military ID, several other IDs, including a passport, a burnt Desert Eagle, a burnt rifle, a burnt phone belonging to Matt, and the components of what made the vehicle explode. Gas cans, camping fuel, and a large amount of fireworks. It had also been determined that Matt had taken his own life prior to the explosion in the Cybertruck by shooting himself with the 50 caliber Desert Eagle. The body was ID'd as Matt via the documents they found inside the vehicle and tattoos that matched previous photos of Matt. The controversy or interest currently is that prior to the detonation of the Cybertruck, Matt had sent out numerous DMs and emails to different social media accounts and podcasts in the veteran sphere, which included Sean Ryan and Terminal CWO Sam. The longest of all these messages being sent to Sam, Terminal CWO, which I will put here and pause so that you can read. So what's it say in this email? Matt doesn't want the email released before January 1st. He's headed to the Mexican border. Why? Well, Matt says that the recent drone sightings that everybody has been seeing on the East Coast, actually China. They have gravity, propulsion, planes, or aircraft. China's been using these aircraft on the East Coast for some time now, and the United States also has that technology, and they have had it for decades. These aircraft with gravity propulsion are the biggest threat to the United States' national security. He added that he's been followed by feds for about a week, and they likely won't let him cross into Mexico. However, they won't stop him because he has a massive VBIED, which stands for Vehicle Foreign Improvised Explosive Device, a car bomb. And that's objectively true. He did make a VBID. Matt added that he's keeping his phone even though he's being tracked by said federal agency. And he also added that he was a witness to a war crime back in 2019 and that it was a cover-up by the United States government after the UN looked at it but then decided not to pursue it. He states, I don't know if my abduction attempt is related to either the drones that he's now whistleblowing on or the potential war crime that he was a witness to. The email ends to Sam with a link to Matt's personal LinkedIn, so that Sam can verify who he is and his background, and then states that he just wants to get this information out there in order to stop the world from going through World War III. Now, there's a ton of extra crazy rabbit holes that have splintered off of this spider web that I'm not going to go into because right now this is all about facts. Just facts, man. Now, as of this moment, the FBI has stated that a manifesto sent out by Matt is legitimate, but I have not seen specific evidence stating that the email is authentic, although there's overwhelming evidence that it is, considering that numerous podcasts and social media accounts that receive messages from Matt and other burner accounts that claim to be Matt have all been posting in unison stating the same exact linear storyline. So here's my take, and take it with a grain of salt. I don't know everything. Things can change. It's Saturday, January 4th. So more information can come out. Mental stressors, potential divorce, family drama, combat overseas, PTSD, traumatic brain injuries. All of these things can come together to form the perfect storm of somebody who's not thinking rationally. Now let's say that you don't believe the long email that was sent to Sam, also known as Terminal CWO. That's fine. That's fine. But there's tons of other corroborating evidence showing that this guy, Matt, was trying to reach out to a whole bunch of different social media people, personalities, shows, in order to get a message out there. And the confirmed FBI manifesto mirrors a lot of things in the email. So, unfortunately, I think we just have a very horrible, unfortunate public suicide brought in by an episode lacking mental health, which has brought out every conspiracy theorist known to God and has turned a horrible, yet easily understandable event into a spectacle. I think a guy had a rough time, decided to make a bad decision after being overly stressed, and luckily that didn't end up in more people being hurt. Only a couple days later and the world is imploding on itself. Here's an update. Here's Ryan McBeth. He's a YouTuber, a guy that talks about the military-industrial complex, even though he doesn't believe that there is one. And he says, hey, Sam and Sean, had some harsh words for Sam and Sean. And then here's the FBI guy in Vegas saying, hey, no, we saw the email on the social medias, and no, that is real. That is 100% verified from him. So then Ryan said, I'm sorry. And everybody was calling everybody names. And Sean and Sam were defensive, and Ryan was upset because he thought what they were doing was a lie. And he made a I'm sorry video about it. And unfortunately, because, these videos take a couple days to edit, this video didn't come out fast enough for me to show my support to Sam, Turbo CWO. So let me quickly just say this about Sam. Sam takes information that he's been given by a bunch of people, sifts through it, and has to go, is this real? How can I verify it? And then puts it out for people to see. Sam doesn't do a lot of interpreting. If he does say, hey, I feel like this is real or bullshit, he says that, hey, this is me, not what this is saying, this is how I feel about it, and separates the two. Sam and I have been in contact with each other for a couple of years. We're not like sending dick pics to one another, but we talk every once in a while when he brings up an interesting topic on social media, and I say, hey, do you have any more information for that can help me with a video? And then, of course, he hands it over because he's a great guy. I'm sorry I couldn't stand up for you earlier, Sam. Anybody questioning his integrity needs to take a step back and look at whatever they're upset about, and then most likely we'll see that Sam puts out information and will then say, hey, here this is, whether it's true or not, this is my interpretation of it. He doesn't mess with the info to make it fit some sort of narrative. So be nice to my friend, my work friend. God, it's like the whole world imploded in like 3 days. You would have thought he was Tim Kennedy. The way people were going after him. Oh, poor Tim. If you'd like to know more about how I feel on some of the specific things, then feel free to jump on Pepperbox and give us a watch over there. We're uncensored, and you always get a little bit extra in all the shows. The best way to support the channel is to buy yourself a shirt. Check out that new shirt. Oh, Teddy Roosevelt. Gather the goons, baby. We pull a moose. Walk around, snap around. No test Teddy. Cheapest way to support the channel is leave a comment. Tell me what you think about The aircraft, we've already talked about that. What about New Orleans guy being a freaking veteran and being absorbed in the freaking terrorism plot with Islam? And what do you think about the email with Sam, Terminal CWO, going on the Sean Ryan podcast? Do you believe some of the things that are in it? Do you think it's all horse? Do you think the guy, had a moment and then, collapsed from it? Or do you think it's the email's bullshit? No? All right. See you next time, weirdos. Shamsud Jabbar, the attacker of the nightmare. Shamsud Jabbar. Shamsud Jabbar. Shamsud yeah. It's a hard name to say. God, his name is hard. I'm just going to call him Jabbar.
It's 9:15. How am I already underwater?
I'm in an actual boat.
I thought Grammarly just fixed grammar. They make boats now?
It's more of a metaphorical boat, because I've been using Grammarly's AI for years to keep me high and dry. Try it. Grammarly can look for your writing and make it easier to understand. See? Shorter.
Wow.
Clearer.
Cool.
And better. Now people will get what you're trying to say, and you won't be flooded with confused emails. Can you do mine? No problem. Your writing's good, but your word choices could be better. Wow, now your writing is as confident as you are.
Oh, what about our proposal?
Let me take a look. Woof, you'll be in deep water if you show this to the CEO. Grammarly can point out what's missing. Right there. The CEO will want to see a deadline. And here you should connect the projections back to company strategy.
Yeah, how could I do that? Mia, can you do a deep dive?
On it. 10% higher revenue by next year.
I'm sending it in.
The CEO loves it. Budget and accounts plan approved.
Let's get everyone on board. I meant figuratively, download Grammarly for free.
Yes, that time during the Vietnam War when the United States Air Force finally agreed to let a double fighter ace pilot from World War II run the show, he then immediately saw the destruction of over half of North Vietnam's state-of-the-art fighter jets, and he did it in 13 minutes. Today we're going to put up Mission Polo, one of the greatest ruses in military history, but first, a word from the sponsor.
When I told you to get a hobby, this isn't what I meant.
I'm sorry.
Not like this.
Why? Get out of my hair! I don't know what she's mad. This is way better than real fishing. Fishing cards let you catch way more fish than you ever could in real life from locations all across the world from the comfort of your own home. Not only that, the game's completely customizable, allowing you to unlock and upgrade all of your equipment and even build your own fishing village. They also have daily events allowing you to compete against other people. You can also join a clan and play with your friends. They also just partnered with Major League Fishing to sponsor the Angler of the Year Awards. So if you guys want to give it a try, there's a QR code right there, as well as a link and a gift code down below. When you use my gift code FATFISH, you're going to get $20 worth of free equipment and power-ups, as well as a one-of-a-kind avatar. Now I'm going to get back to fishing.
He's never gonna get out of his house. We're never gonna have a minute by ourselves. Unless he leaves that room. I know how to get him out of this house.
Finally, some peace and quiet. Everybody else is freezing their ass off in their ice fishing huts, and I'm catching more fish than them inside my own house.
Oh, Nicholas.
Yes?
What's your discount code for that little game?
Fat fish. Why?
Because I've decided to join you.
Hey, look. And your mobile.
What? But it's winter out. Let's see this little game. Ooh. Yes. Release.
Alright, so Operation Polo takes place with the main another mission known as Operation Rolling Thunder, and Operation Rolling Thunder spans from March of 1965 until November of 1968. It is essentially the air war over North Vietnam. So, super brief, oversimplified version of what's going on. The American forces are in South Vietnam, and they are fighting the VC, or the Viet Cong, which is a guerrilla fighting force. And that guerrilla fighting force is receiving supplies from the North Vietnamese via the Ho Chi Minh Trail. So, America needs to try to shut down those supply lines. Logic being, if the enemy doesn't have supplies to fight, the enemy can't fight. Real base level War 101 Sun Tzu type stuff, right? Okay, well, America pretty much has two options. They can A, invade North Vietnam with ground forces, where they can B, just bomb the holy fuck out of them. And America's going with option B, and that is what Operation Rolling Thunder is. It is just a humongous 3-year-long air bombing campaign where America is going to try to blow up so much North Vietnamese infrastructure that they can't continue to support the Viet Cong. Which honestly is a really good plan. What's the problem? The enemy's got nice things. Oh, we'll take the nice things away. Send the planes in, bomb the roads, bomb the railroad tracks, and make it so they can't give the enemy a bunch of supplies. It's good. It should work. And then the politicians got involved. And let's face it, if anybody can mess up something so simple, it's going to be a politician because, well, honestly, they could probably fuck up boiling water. So how on earth did they mess it up? Well, they gave the American military a bunch of rules of engagement, which is a fancy way of saying they gave the American military a bunch of rules that only they have to follow and the enemy doesn't. Essentially, tying the U.S. military's hands behind its back and then sending them into battle anyways. And one of these rules of engagement, or one of these protocols that they had to abide by, was that every plane that went into North Vietnam to bomb them had to travel through a particular air corridor, and that is the only route they were allowed to take into North Vietnam. Meaning that pretty much immediately the North Vietnamese picked up on the pattern that every single plane that flies into their country follows a particular path, and they then proceeded to take all of their surface-to-air missiles, all of their radars, all of their anti-aircraft capabilities in the entire country and put them in this one particular spot. And then the U.S. government decided to keep making their guys fly right through it anyways the entire time. Now at this point, you're probably thinking, oh my god, the politicians might actually secretly be geniuses, because what they've done is they have inadvertently gotten the North Vietnamese to gather all of their anti-aircraft resources into one location. And now we can just bomb those, take them out, and they'll have nothing left, and it will just be green light, go everywhere. So now the U.S. military is like, yo, politicians are going to blow that shit up now because it's right there just waiting for me. Which the politicians are like, absolutely not. In fact, we're going to make it a rule that you're not allowed to bomb or attack any anti-aircraft sites, any surface-to-air missile arrays, any anti-aircraft anything. You have to leave it completely unscathed. And our logic behind that is that at those sites, there could potentially be a Chinese or a Soviet advisor that's helping out the North Vietnamese, and if we hurt one of them, it would upset the Soviets or the Chinese, and then that would be bad diplomatically, even though they're blatantly there to help run a proxy war against us. We're going to go ahead and care more about them than we are about our own pilots. So we're going to go ahead and just have you guys keep flying through that same air channel, through all the anti-aircraft, everything, because fuck you, that's why.
Your small business has unlimited potential. Spectrum Business is built to connect you with that potential. Get fast internet, advanced Wi-Fi, and a mobile line, all for only $49.99 per month. That's
exactly what happens. Every single time they fly a mission, every Air Force, Navy, and Marine Corps plane has to fly through the same air corridor through a gauntlet of anti-aircraft capability on their way to deliver their payload. And then if that wasn't bad enough, the North Vietnamese got their hands on somewhere between 12 and 16 MiG-21s. And if you don't know at this point in time, MiG-21 is a new cutting-edge Soviet fighter jet. It is incredibly fast, it has a very high flight ceiling, and it is very, very new. And using these MiG-21s, a very develop a strategy that amounts to basically guerrilla warfare in the sky, utilizing a hit-and-run tactic. So their strategy is that they're going to go specifically after the F-105 Thunder Chief, aka the Thud, who is the #1 plane that America is using in Operation Rolling Thunder in all of their bombing runs. And when it is weighing down with a bunch of bombs, it is basically sitting down to a MiG-21. So what ends up happening is every time a bunch of thuds get sent out on a bombing run, they have to fly through that corridor of anti-aircraft capabilities, and the arrays and everything else tells the enemy that it's a bunch of F-105s going on a bombing run. So they scramble the MiG-21s, they go up there, they intercept these F-105s, at which point one of two things can happen. The F-105s can continue on their bombing run and most likely get shot down by the MiG-21s, or they can drop their payload just over the jungle randomly in the middle of nowhere, not on target, and then make an escape and live. And bear in mind, the North Vietnamese only have a couple of these fighter jets, and they're fighting a war of attrition against a much larger industrial force like America, so they are more than happy to send a plane up there, burn a little bit of fuel, get the Americans to drop tens or hundreds or millions of dollars worth of bombs on the middle of nothing, waste all their money, waste all their time, and then take their planes and land. They don't even go out there and waste all the missiles and risk their planes. They're just going to the Americans to waste all of their bombs on nothing. And I know what you're thinking. That seems like an easy problem. What if we just bombed the MiGs while they were on the ground? Or what if we bombed the airfields that they were coming from? That way they couldn't even take off. Well, luckily we have politicians to step in and tell us once again, you're not allowed to bomb those either because there could potentially be an advisor from China or the USSR there. So leave those alone too. You're only allowed to take out enemy planes when they're in the air. George, the U.S. military is like, okay, I guess we'll do literally the only thing we can do. We'll just send up our fighter jet, the F-4 Phantom II, and try to go toe-to-toe with the MiGs. Okay, so let's take this set. We have one of the sexiest airplanes of all time, the American F-4 Phantom II, going toe-to-toe with the Soviet MiG-21. Okay, here's what I need you to understand about this matchup. This is pretty much the golden era of military planes, okay? In my opinion, it's right before stealth technology came out and planes started to get a little bit slower because they could be sneaking out. No, planes built during this period were just straight up, let's be fast as fuck and carry a ton of firepower. It's the hot rod era of military planes. And both of these planes are built on that doctrine. The F-4 Phantom tops out at like 1,400 miles an hour. The MiG-21 tops out at like 1,300 miles an hour. The F-4 Phantom is like twice the size of the MiG-21. It's got a way bigger fuel tank. It's got way more range. It can carry a lot more payload. The MiG-21, on the other hand, it's a lot smaller. It's a lot lighter. It's nimbler, but it doesn't have as much range. So the MiG-21 in an up-close dogfight is probably going to be better with its gun, whereas the F-4 Phantom, not really intended for up-close dogfighting. It doesn't even have a gun because it has a more advanced radar and missiles that can take the enemy out from 29 miles away. It doesn't even need to see the enemy to shoot them out of the sky, so why on earth would it need a gun? Okay, the F-4 Phantom's MO is to haul ass, shoot half-yard shots, and have a dope-ass paint job the entire time it does it. So, just so we're on the same page, the Soviet MiG-21 and American F-4 very much peers to one another. They are both capable of taking the other out. They both pose a huge threat to one another. However, theoretically speaking, the MiG-21 should have an advantage in an up-close dogfight due to its maneuverability and its gun, whereas the F-4 has the advantage because it can just shoot down the MiG-21 before it even gets close enough for a dogfight to occur. So, MiG-21, better up close, F-4, better far away. So that's it. That's the solution, right? The F-4 Phantoms are going to go up, they're going to shoot the MiGs down from like 20 miles away before the MiGs even know they're there, and that's going to be the end of it. Ta-da! Luckily for the North Vietnamese, the American politicians step in yet again with another exciting rule of engagement. Guess what? You're not allowed to shoot at enemy aircrafts until you have visual confirmation that it is an enemy aircraft. Translation, the American F-4 pilots literally are not allowed to start fighting the MiG-21s until the MiG-21s have the advantage, which is absolutely insane to think about. Like, literally the equivalent of walking up to an infantryman and being like, hey, here's a sniper rifle. Also, you're not allowed to shoot people with it. You're only allowed to use the bayonet. And there's no bayonet because we didn't design it with a bayonet bug. It's only designed to shoot people from really far away. Get them. And just in case that wasn't bad enough, what makes this even worse is the fact that most of the F-4 pilots are only trained on the American F-4, which wasn't really designed for up-close dogfighting with a gun because it doesn't have a gun. So most of them don't really know how to conduct an up-close dogfight because they've never been trained to do it because that's not what their plane is supposed to fucking do. So there's really no good answer. This goes on for a little while where basically the F-105s go up, the MiG-21s go up to intercept, the F-105s are then forced to drop all their bombs in the middle of nowhere and take off just so they can survive. The MiG-21s then go and land, and that just repeats itself ad nauseum. But then in September of 1976, something happened that would change everything because the 8th Fighter Wing had moved on high oil Air Force Base. We're getting a commander, and that commander was none other than the legendary fighter pilot, Colonel Robin Olds. And I mean, you can know nothing about this guy, and you already know he's the main character. I mean, look at the lip sweater on this man. It's the most magnificent cocktail crosser I've ever seen in my entire life. Okay, look at this now for you. Anytime you've ever seen a movie with a cool bad boy character that doesn't follow the rules, it's also a fighter pilot, it's based off of this guy, whether you know it or not. Okay, I want you to just get grabbed in the situation here. This man's mother passed away when he was 4 years old. He was raised by a single father that was also a full-time Army pilot and a World War I veteran. This guy was essentially bred to be a fighter pilot. He went to West Point where he became an All-American football player at 6'2", 250 pounds. He then went on to become a fighter pilot in World War II. Now, if you shoot down 5 or more enemy planes, you become an ace pilot. It's kind of a really big deal. And Robert Olds was a double ace in World War II. This man literally prestiged in the most extreme air-to-air combat the world has ever seen. And he's about to become a triple ace in Vietnam. And at the age of 44, nonetheless, how's the old saying go, beware of an old man in a young man's game? Yeah, this is the main character for sure. And like most great main characters, Robin Olds has a lot of very high-ranking people that don't really like him that much, mostly because he's not afraid to ruffle a couple of feathers to get his point across. And most recently, the argument he's been having with the establishment is the fact that the F-4 Phantom, the main fighter jet for the United States military, should probably have a gun on it. He also has an issue with how these new pilots are being trained because they're not really being trained how to actually dogfight. They're just being trained how to haul ass, intercept a plane, and shoot a missile at it, as opposed to actually getting into a close quarters fight. And the chain of command is basically telling Robin Olds, like, hey, look, you're old. They don't do it like that anymore. You were fighting in World War II in P-51 Mustangs and P-38 Lightnings. This is not what's going on anymore. These kids are flying F-4 Phantoms that can fly at 1,400 miles an hour and shoot missiles and take out targets from 30 miles away. We don't need to teach them up close dogfighting anymore because they're never actually going to use it, because the technology eliminates the need for that. But you know what technology doesn't fix? Politicians being fucking stupid. So now everybody has to fight like it's World War II in a dogfight because they're not allowed to use the technology the way they're supposed to, because politicians that don't understand what they're talking about get to make up all the rules. So now we're sending Robin Olds to go take over command of the 8th Fighter Wing. He shows up and immediately earns everybody's respect. Keyword, earns it. Doesn't just get it, give it. And the way that he earns it is one of the best examples of leadership that I have ever read about. This man shows up to take command of an entire fighter wing as a double ace World War II pilot and a legend. And he decides to immediately put himself on the flight roster as a rookie to get trained on how to better use the F-4 Phantom because he's not very well acquainted with it. And he lets all the men that are lower than him train him on this plane. He didn't come in all cocky, wasn't some arrogant prick. He just admitted, hey, I've been doing this for a long time, I've flown a lot of planes, I'm not super great with the F-4 Phantom, I need to get great with it so I can lead you guys, and that's exactly what he did, and it immediately earned him all the respect. So Robin takes some time to get acquainted with the F-4 Phantom, and within a couple of weeks, he's already flying the plane better than most of the trainers. So now that Robin Olds is caught up on the F-4 Phantom to where all of his guys are, he is now going to teach these young whippersnappers how to dogfight like it's World War II. And this is like the cool moment from all the movies where old school's teaching new school how to get shit done anyways, okay? This is Rocky teaching Adonis Creed how to box. This is Doc teaching Lightning McQueen. Sometimes you got to turn right to go left.
Big ideas don't come easy. But when you get one, use that moment of clarity to create.
And while all of this is happening, Robin Olds, in another great display of leadership, realizes that there's not enough of him to go around and he needs backup. He needs another badass World War II era pilot to come over and help him get these guys ready. So Olds calls him favors, gets one of his longtime friends transferred over to the 8th Fighter Wing to help him run the show, and that friend is none other than the legendary pilot Daniel Chapman James Jr., a.k.a. the Black Eagle. In the late 1930s, early 1940s, this man was a civilian pilot at the Tuskegee Institute that was contracted by the U.S. government to train U.S. pilots how to fly. Okay, I'm not taking a look down. I'm trying to tell you, this is the man that trained the famous Tuskegee Airmen from World War II before eventually enlisting and becoming one himself in 1943. After enlisting, he became an officer, which made him deemed too valuable as a trainer, so that's what he did for the duration of World War II. He continued to train an entire generation of fighter pilots and never actually saw combat himself. Then, in Korea, he would fly over 100 combat missions before working at the Pentagon, where he would end up meeting Robin Olds. After this, he goes on to become the first black man to become a 4-star general in the United States military. This man was also a complete badass, so Uncle Sam is essentially playing Operation Bolo on co-op mode with two main characters on the field. So Chapman shows up to the 8th Fighter Wing, is reunited with his old friend Robin Olds. They become this extremely effective chain of command, and they are absolutely loved by all of their subordinates. Because of that, this leadership duo was given a nickname that was originally intended as a term of endearment, although by today's standards is probably not very politically correct, and that nickname was Black Man and Robin. Now, all this happens during the span of 3 months. So, December 1966, they're running combat operations, and Robin Olds finally gets an idea of how to stop these new badass MiG-21s. By this point, Robin Olds is completely caught on to the MiG-21's entire strategy. They have zero interest in actually fighting with the F-4s, which is driving Robin Olds nuts because he's a World War II era fighter pilot. That's exactly the type of shit that he's into. These MiG-21 pilots, however, just want to go up there and use guerrilla warfare tactics where they just either hit the F-105s or don't hit the F-105s and just convince them to drop their payload prematurely and waste everybody's time and then take back off. The MiG-21s have zero interest in tangling with the F-4s, which Robin Olds interprets as, I need to force these MiG-21s to fight them. So how's it going to do that? Well, here's his plan. The reason the MiG-21s can identify the F-105s so efficiently is because the F-105s have a jamming pod on them that basically disrupts and interferes with the surface-to-air missiles down below. It messes up their radar so that the F-105s aren't going to get taken out by all the anti-aircraft stuff on the ground. The problem with that is that emits a frequency that the North Vietnamese can see. They then know that a bunch of F-105s are coming, so they scramble the MiGs. So Ron Wolf decides, hey, let's take these jamming pods, mount them behind all the guys' F-4s, and then we'll fly there like for F-105s in a bombing formation, and the MiGs will come attack us. And by the time they get close enough to realize that we're not F-105s, ideally it's going to be too late. Yeah, the legendary World War II double fire ace is just the chain of command and requested permission to execute the old Wile E. Coyote in a sheep costume and catch the road runner strategy. Now, probably going to work, but there are a bunch of problems with this idea. Biggest problem right out of the gate is this doesn't solve the issue with rules of engagement, because remember, you're not allowed to fire on the enemy until you have visual confirmation that it is your enemy, and by then the MiG-21s have an edge in air-to-air combat. Okay, not big deal though, because Robin has a two-step plan for that as well. Okay, step number one, he knows that they only have 12 and 16 MiG-21s, so he's just going to roll in with 28 F-4s, okay, just completely overwhelm them, even if they do have an edge in air-to-air combat. Okay, step number two, which is quite frankly the big ask, he wants the entire U.S. military to shut down all air operations over Southeast Asia while he conducts this operation. He wants the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, the Marine Corps, none of them to have any birds in the sky whatsoever. And his reason for that is so he can bypass the rules of engagement. You see, the only reason the politicians are enforcing that rule of engagement where you have to have visual confirmation before you fire on an enemy plane is because there's a ton of planes in the air over Southeast Asia at all times, and Vietnam is already super controversial over America, and the last thing the politicians want to have to deal with is headlines that an American plane shot down another American plane. So, they just you're not allowed to shoot at anything unless you can visually see 100% for certain that it is in fact an enemy. So, if Robin can make sure that the only planes in the sky are his guys and the enemy, he should be able to go bombs away the entire time and not have to worry about it. So obviously, this is a massive request, and the chain of command says yes.
Son of a bitch.
Okay, so now the last thing we got to figure out, how do we make sure that these MiG-21s don't slip away? Because they're so nimble and they're so fast, they can pull a tight maneuver and be back at base before we're going to be able to catch them. So, how are we going to prevent them? As soon as the MiG-21s take off and get in the air, they're going to send half of the F-4s to haul ass past the entire future battlefield, and they're just going to do hot laps around the enemy airfield, making it so the enemy can't go to land without fighting through those F-4s first, which effectively is going to give the pilots of the MiG-21s two options. They can stand and fight the F-4s, retreat, and fight the other F-4s, or they can retreat, have a lower landing, eventually run out of gas, and remember, the F-4s have a much larger gas tank, so they are definitely going to run out of gas first. So with the perfect plan, there's just one small problem left. How are we going to know when the MiG-21s take off and leave the airfield? Because if we send the F-4s out too soon, then the MiG-21s won't take off at all, and then we can't bomb them on the ground, and it defeats the entire purpose of the mission. Easy problem to solve. We're going to get two spy planes, the C-130B2, aka the Silver Dawn. At this point in time, it is a state-of-the-art electronic warfare spy plane. It's going to be able to receive all the enemy radio transmissions, so they're going to be able to tell as soon as the MiG-21s take off. And obviously, given the fact that it's such an easy problem to solve, bureaucracy is obviously going to step in and make it extremely difficult because the U.S. military only has like 20 of these Silver Dawn spy planes, and while they are technically the property of the United States Air Force, they are directly under the command of the NSA, the National Security Agency, and they are super duper stingy about whoever gets to use these planes. Basically, the NSA gets final say as to whether or not this plane gets to participate in this mission, and that means that they're going to have to go through some stupid bureaucratic process where they ask for permission, it gets run up the chain of command like 30 people deep, and then finally some bureaucrat has to take responsibility. They're not going to do that because they don't want to put their ass on the line, so it's probably just going to be a big fat no, you can't use this plane, even though it's probably going to make the whole mission work. Now, this is normally part of the story where the hero strategically transfers a piece of equipment to an alternate location so that he can get the job done. However, he doesn't have to do that because what they do instead is decide to not tell the NSA anything.
Mama don't know. Won't hurt her.
And when I say they're not going to tell the NSA anything, I mean they are somehow going to keep it a secret from the NSA. The whole part of the story where the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, and the Army ground every single bird that's not on this mission. They're going to somehow keep that a a secret from the fucking spy agency so that they go ahead and send up their 2 Silver Dawns doing hot laps around the Gulf of Tonkin that they have going around every single day. So that those 2 planes are in the air participating in this mission, whether the NSA knows it or not. And then as soon as the mission kicks off, they're going to radio over to them and just have them tell them whether or not the MiG-21s took off. It's both genius and hilarious because now, even if the NSA does find out after the fact and get all pissed off, all the Air Force chain of command has to do is go, oh, you guys didn't get that memo? We sent it. At which point they're basically going to be forced to just drop the issue because none of them are going to want to take responsibility for not passing along the memo that never actually got sent. That's it. This mission gets approved. Operation Bolo is going to happen. So they hurry up. They get all the jamming pods off the F-105s. They mount them on the F-4s. And while that's going on, they schedule it with the entire U.S. military, all 4 branches, and nobody is to have planes in the air on January 2nd, 1967, except for the NSA, of course. Somebody forgot to tell them. So January 2nd rolls around. The Silver Dawn spy planes are already in the air. The F-4s are on the airstrip with the jamming pods mounted and they're ready to go. And it's fucking cloudy and overcast out, which is not good for this entire mission. But also, fuck it, there's nothing they can do. They have to run this mission right now. They shut down the skies over all of Southeast Asia to get this shit done. It has to happen right now or it's never going to happen. But I mean, hey, it should all work out. I mean, even inside of the Art of War, Sun Tzu once said, and I quote, you can plan a pretty picnic, but you can't predict the weather. Wait a minute. How many years did Miss Jackson make some of Sun Tzu? I guess I was Andre 3000. I apologize. A trillion times. Anyways, point stands. Mission goes. So the F-4s get put up in the air. There's 7 flights of F-4s. Each flight is 4 F-4s for a total of 28, and they're all named after cars. Flight 1 is named Olds, being led by Robin Olds. Flight 2 is Ford, led by Chappie. And Flight 3 is Rambler, being led by Captain John Stone. And everything they do follows exactly what the F-105s would normally do. They're taking the same route at the same elevation, using the same radio frequencies. They're even using bomber call signs in case somehow their radio transmissions get intercepted. And they're emitting the same jamming frequencies as well, using those pods. So sure enough, the MiGs show up, and wouldn't you know it, the first guy to see one is none other than Robin Olds. He immediately splits his flight into 2 groups of 2, and Olds and his wingman take off after this MiG. Olds fires 2 radar-guided missiles, and they both end up losing their lock, and he misses entirely. He then closes the distance more so he can fire a heat-seeking missile, and it's a dud. And then the MiG that he's chasing goes into the clouds and he loses them entirely, and as soon as he loses sight of that MiG, another MiG is screaming past him going the opposite direction, so close that Olds can't just make a normal turn. Without that in mind, Olds immediately hits a vector roll, which is a technique right out of the World War II dogfighting handbook. It's essentially nose up, you do a backflip corkscrew maneuver and end up behind your enemy. And as he's mid-vector roll, upside down, pulling cheese, he gets a radio transmission from Captain Johnson of Rambler Group saying, hey, I just got into the battlefield. Where are you? I heard that you're engaging an enemy. Olds finishes the vector roll, gets behind this MiG, radios back to Stone, finds your own, and then fires a missile and blows up the first MiG-21. At this point, the rest of the MiGs got to figure out that the Americans had tricked them, and they are now basically locked inside of the Thunderdome, and they're going to have to fight their way out and have any chance at all, and the entire thing devolves into one enormous dogfight. And remember, the other 4 flights aren't there yet. They're lagging behind a couple of minutes, so we still just have the original 3 flights of Olds, Ford, and Rambler for a total of 12 F-4s going toe-to-toe with an unknown number of MiGs, potentially as many as 16. Now, coming up the 4th flight, Chappie has a MiG on his tail, and he has no idea because his radio is malfunctioning, and he can't hear his wingman telling him, hey, you have an enemy on your tail. So, his wingman does the only thing he can think of. He handles it by himself. Bear in mind, it is Chappie, the MiG, and then his teammate. So, his teammate can't fire any missiles because he can't risk that missile accidentally locking onto Chappie. So, he has to perform another vector roll. He noses up, does a corkscrew, backflips, and that puts him at 90 degrees from where he was previously. So now he's coming this way towards the enemy, and he fires heat-seeking missiles and blows up the MiG-21 behind Chappie without Chappie even knowing that it happened. Chappie immediately engages 2 MiGs that are directly in front of him, and while that's going on, cutting back over to Olds, his wingman informs him that, hey, his secondary fuel tank isn't feeding fuel for some reason, so he's already low on fuel. They're 5 minutes into this dogfight, and Robin Olds makes the call that he is going to escort his wingman out of the target area and back to the airfield, which is yet again another phenomenal display of leadership. He could have ordered somebody else to do it, so he could have stayed in the fight and soaked up more kills and padded his stats, but no, he did it himself. For the next 8 minutes, the remaining 10 F F-4s engage every MiG-21 they can find until they have either been blown up or have disappeared and are hiding in the clouds. So at this point, the F-4s call it a day, they head back to base. The other 4 flights of F-4s didn't even make it to the target zone in time, so only 12 of the 28 F-4s in the air actually engage the enemy. As the F-4s start showing up and they start landing, the ground crews are there waiting with anticipation to find out how it went. I mean, this is one of the coolest missions ever done, probably the coolest thing a lot of these guys are ever going to be involved with. So they're super pumped to hear how it went. As the F-4 canopies open up, the pilots start holding up fingers of 1s and 2s, telling everybody how many MiGs they shot down, and the entire place turns into an enormous party. They're celebrating. All these guys are just absolutely pumped that they shot down a bunch of MiGs at once. So they debrief, trying to figure out everything that happened in this 13 minutes of absolute chaos. And first and foremost, the best news, not a single American pilot got shot down. Then they figured out that they for sure shot down 7 MiG-21s with an additional 2 probable, for a total of as many as 9. And bear in mind that the North Vietnamese only had somewhere between 12 and 16 to begin with. So at worst, Operation Bolo has effectively destroyed at least half of North Vietnam's MiG-21 fleet. Okay, and there's always going to be that one guy in the comments section like, I can't believe you made an entire video about them only shooting down 7 aircrafts. Okay, first of all, this isn't a video game, this is real life. And going 7-0 against pure aircrafts is absolutely incredible. Secondly, in a way, Operation Bolo didn't just destroy half of the enemy MiG-21 fleet, it also destroyed their entire fleet's operational capability, and that is because now they can't make a mistake like that again because they've lost half their fucking planes. If they do that, they won't have any. In addition to that, now they have no way of knowing if it's actually a bunch of F-105s are getting sent up to fight, or if it's another trap. So now the remaining MiG-21s are going to be infinitely more cautious and more sparingly used, which is going to save countless F-105s in the long run. So in conclusion, Operation Bolo has gone down in history as one of the most successful ruses of all time, and it serves as a shining example of why you should never underestimate a couple of old men in a young man's game. In addition to that, it also proves something that I previously thought to be impossible, that you can in fact overcome the stupidity of politicians. The problem is that you have to be a superhero level badass like Robin Olds or Daniel Chappie James Jr. Thank you for watching. The best way to support the channel is go buy some merch at fatalelectrician.com. Quack bang out.
Oh, that's wrong.
Where are you? The response was, go find your home. I thought that was pretty selfish of him at the time, but there's plenty left.
Deliberately planned fighter sweep went just as we hoped. The MiGs came up, the MiGs were aggressive, we tackled, they lost.
Light, sweet, made with watermelon seed flour, Simple Mills.
Excuse me, let me guess. Silicones, sulfates, dyes, and restored dry distributed into moisture with plant-based ingredients. Clean moisturizing hair care.
You know, most nations are created guerrilla fighting forces. You guys remember that time America made a guerrilla air force? No? Grab a seat. Today we bring up traditional and the APG, also known as the American Volunteer Group, aka the Flying Tigers. Okay, now if you already follow me, or if this is the first time you've ever seen one of my videos, you are somebody that just clicked on a World War II Flying Tiger video and probably already know a ton about World War II to begin with, so I'm not going to waste your time rehashing the entire thing. Okay, so the super abbreviated version, in case you live under a rock or you clicked on this video on accident, prior to the attack on Pearl Harbor, by and large, America did not want to enter World War II. They saw it as a huge European conflict that we should have nothing to do with. Now, despite that, the government and the military realized that this war was going to come whether we wanted it or not, so they began prepping the military, and in the meantime, they were doing everything they could to help out the Allied forces, countries like Great Britain, the USSR, France, and in this case, China.
China.
The absolutely incredible story of the Flying Tigers is quite literally the time FDR, the longest sitting president. That was in reference to the fact that he sat 3 times, not that he was always, you know what, we're just going to push through. Anyways, FDR was approached by this crazy ex-infantryman that became a pilot known as Claire Chennault, a.k.a. Old Leatherface. He had recently just got back from China, where he was working as was a civilian contractor, and he realized that, like, hey, Chinese Air Force kind of sucks. It'd be really cool if I could get some American pilots with good training and some American planes and take them over there. I feel like we could wreck house. So he approaches FDR with this idea, and FDR is kind of stuck in this situation. Like, well, I can't send over American service members because then that would be an act of war against Japan. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to approach 100 of the best pilots and mechanics and ground crew that America has, and I'm going to let them have the opportunity to get released from their contract. They can resign their commission and become civilians again, as long as they agree that they are then going to immediately go over to China, declare Shinol, and found a guerrilla air force and fight the Japanese by themselves. And we are going to get to all of that right after word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by World of Warships. Yeah, this is actually all I had to hold up with the camera. It's technically a warship. It's part of the USS Texas, which you can actually play in World of Warships. And not only that, you can have me as the captain. Yeah, they put me inside of the game. Action stations! General quarters. If you don't know, World of Warships is a free game on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox where you can command some of the greatest naval vessels of all time, like the USS Texas, the USS Iowa, or the USS Enterprise. Or if you're into losing, you can be some of the world's biggest coral reefs, like the Yamato or the Bismarck. Seriously though, go check it out. I'm gonna have a link down below. When you use the code VETS for VETS, you're automatically gonna unlock me and demo map, as well as a tier 4 battleship and a bunch of in-game money and 14 days of free premium play. So yeah, let me know how bad me and Matt are at voice acting in the comments down below. Let's get back to the video.
CCR. It's the truck. It's an APR 2024 Sierra 1500 models. That's over 5,600 in average finance savings. Plus, get over 3,200 mileage from this Sierra when you trade in an eligible vehicle.
Ladies, all that stress is having a good old time aging your skin. The Clarence Multi-Active has 2% niacin and organic sea health bio extract that target 8 signs of stress aging, like fine lines, large pores, dullness, and it strengthens your skin barrier after just one use. It also comes with this anti-aging night cream to top off your routine, so you should probably go grab yours before it sells out.
Our story begins in September 2nd, 1893, with a sweet little baby Leatherface, and Claire Chenault was born. He grew up the son of a cotton farmer and pretty much crushing poverty his entire life. While he was in high school, he had seen an acrobatic air show at the Louisiana State Fair. You gotta remember, this is the early 1900s. Planes are brand new. He'd never even seen a plane before, let alone seen a plane doing acrobatic stunts. And it left such an impression on him that it became his life goal to become a pilot. Because of this, after graduating high school, he immediately enrolls in college and signs up for the ROTC program at Louisiana State, attempting to become an officer so that he can become a pilot in the United States Army Air Corps. Now you have to realize, not only is this pre-World War II, this is pre-World War I. The United States is not a military superpower yet. The military is 4 times much smaller, and the officer corps is not something that you just go in there because you want to serve your country. The officer corps is something that you get into because you come from a wealthy, aristocratic family, and one day you want to be a politician, or you want to be a career man that's going to make general. Basically, you have to be from the right family and have the right connections. And as a poor farmer's son, he absolutely did not. He was essentially bullied out of the ROTC program his first year there. He would end up finishing his degree in Louisiana State and going on to become a gym teacher. He absolutely ends up quitting his teaching job, goes and works at a Goodyear tire plant, finds a wife, starts having kids, starts up his family. Shortly after that, World War I breaks out, at which point he's thinking like, okay, the demand for military personnel just went through the roof. Maybe this is my opportunity to finally get a chance to become a pilot. So he goes, he signs up for the Army. He's eligible to go into the officer training program because he does have a college degree, and he specifically requests to become a pilot. Now, he does get accepted to be an officer. He goes through the training program, becomes a 90-day wonder where he gets all of his officer training in 90 days. However, in regards to him being a pilot, the letter he received said, and I quote, "Applicant does not possess the necessary qualifications for a successful aviator." So while he wasn't able to change his stars a little bit and break into that officer class as a son of a poor farmer, becoming a pilot would prove to be another level of difficulty. You see, the idea at the time was that if you wanted to be a military pilot, you had to be the best of the best. And apparently, in their eyes, the best of the best meant that you basically had to go to an Ivy League college and be an athlete. So, like, you know, if you weren't competitively rowing a canoe at Yale, you obviously couldn't be good at flying an airplane. I truly, for the life of me, will never be able to understand the logic that goes into this line of thinking. Like, hey, we're going to put you in a potentially life or death situation. Who would you rather have by your side? Somebody that was born with a silver spoon in their mouth that competitively weaves baskets at Harvard? Or some fucking farm kid that grew up in soul-crushing poverty? Because unless we're having an Easter egg hunt. I'm going with a farm kid 100% of the time. 110% of the time if he's got bad vision, he's clearly going to be unstoppable. Regardless, Claire ends up getting rejected from the pilot program, and he gets voluntold to be infantry. So now he's an infantry officer who goes through, does all the training. By the time he gets into his unit gets trained up, they get ready, they're shipping on their way to World War I. World War I ends.
Oh, perfect.
So Ramirez gets stationed at this military base down in Texas, and he's there just like teaching people how to do infantry stuff. But this military base also has an airfield. So naturally, he just ends up becoming friends with some of the pilot trainers, and he ends up convincing them, like, hey, teach me how to fly one of these fighters. Not only does he learn how to fly, he actually gets so good, they start letting him fly on his own. And the way they're able to do that is the pilots go, they get in their